Hi guys, so welcome back to the queue construction series. So this has been a long time coming, this video. It's almost a year after the last one, which was episode 3. So if you haven't watched the ones up until now, go back and watch those. So this is where we left it last time. We had the first set of ebony splices on, then we cut the flats for the others, prepared the ebony and glued the ebony on. So now we're at a point where it'll all come together fairly quickly now, and it'll start to look a lot more like a queue that you'd recognise. So obviously we're very square at the minute, so we need to take these edges down and just keep doing that all the way around the queue until it's the size and shape that you want, really. So the first step, I'll get the queue in the lathe. You can't really turn all of the ebony off in the lathe. It's just it just splinters too much, and it can be quite dangerous. So all we're going to do is turn a couple of inches at the bottom of the queue, turn that round down to the size that we want it, or slightly oversized. So normally take it down to about 32mm, and then we'll come back to the bench and we'll be able to work all of these off by hand until it's much closer to the final dimensions. And then we can turn it again down here then till it is the final dimension that we want, and then again finish it off by hand. So it's a bit of a two-stage process, but yeah, I'll take you over to the lathe and get started on turning the first bit. So we've got the queue set up in the lathe, so we'll just start to turn it around now. One thing to say, I suppose, if you're just starting to do this, you don't need to have a lathe to do this part. As long as you've got the centre of the queue marked at the bottom, you can just draw a circle, or screw a washer there, anything like that. That's gonna, as long as it's put, you've got the center of the queue marked, and you can just work down to that. So you don't. This step isn't necessary. It's just easier if you have. But yeah, so we'll just turn it down, measure it, and then take it down to about 32, 31 and a half. There you go, so that's done. So you can see where we turned it last time, before we actually put the second set of splices on. So we're down to about the same thing now. It's just under 32. So we'll go a bit further and take all this adhesive off. Let's do that actually, so you can see what it looks like. There you go. So nice tight joints, and you can see exactly where we need to go down to now. So there's quite a lot to take off there, but it'll all happen pretty quickly. So we'll go back over to the bench and we can start working that off. So all we're doing here is taking the excess off. So I do it by hand just because I don't find it any quicker really to do it with a power plane. But you could use a power plane for this because you really are just like hogging off all the kind of excess material. So it's just a little bit more user friendly to not use a power tool because it's quieter and it's not as dusty, and yeah, you just get a bit more control. But yeah, so we'll start and obviously work on all four sides and keep going until you're Q-shaped basically. So you get the picture, so we'll do the other two sides and then bring you back and show you where we are. So basically now you just keep going. You can see the splice fingers starting to emerge. So it's starting to look a little bit more like a Q, but you can also see there's plenty left to do to the bottom. So we're still not down to the final size there yet. So we just keep going, keep working our way around until we're much closer down to this final finished size. And then we can take it back over to the lathe just to make sure it's perfect. But like I said, you don't need a lathe for this. All of this can be done from this point on. You wouldn't need a lathe at all, really. It just obviously helps. So back at the lathe, we've got the Q set up, and we're just going to take it down a little bit further now. You can see quite clearly that it's obviously a lot thicker there than it is up here. So we'll just make that a little bit more even. Go back to the bench, then finish off the tips of the splices by hand, and then bring it back over to the lathe to sand it. And then that'll be the butt section pretty much done. If we want to enhance it then with any decorative splicing, then we can. But yeah, for now we'll just take this down a little bit further. So essentially, that's pretty much it for part 4, because this queue now is at a point where we could ferrule it, fit the joint, badge it, and start to finish it. So I'm not going to do that with this queue. I am going to add 4 decorative splices, but now we've got, basically all queues will be made up to this point before you decide even who the customer is sometimes, and then when they're at this point, you'll get a feel for how springy are they, will it handle a small tip, would it be better for a snooker cue rather than a pool cue, and then you can kind of make sure that what you're making is going to suit the specs of the person that's ordered it. So like I say, we'll add some secondary splicing to this, so that'll be the next couple of videos, but for now that's pretty much it. So we're down to the plain ebony stage, and like I say, everything that we do from this point on is just decorative. It's not functional at all. So I'll bring you back next time. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again for part 5.